welcome back. It's another video where you catch me slacking. Okay, I was kind of hoping not hoping. I'm having a stroke. Guys, Spain GP recap. Not much going on. We have a lot to go over, I feel like. And, don't blame my notes for being so inconsistent because the race really got interesting and then I stopped taking notes, but we're not going to talk about that. So we have a couple of just random stuff to talk about, and then we will go into the standings, and then we will finish off with our race results. You guys might be wondering if we are doing predictions this week. No, we are saving that for next week, because there's some stuff that might play out here within the next couple days, and even next. Anyways, so 6 drivers scored in all 3 races of this triple header. Can you name the 6? In all 3 races? Yeah, but hold on, I'm pulling up the thing here. Got it. Okay. Would Isaac be one of them? Yes! Okay. Lando, he got points. Max got points, right? Oscar got points. Charles got points. Who am I missing? Did Hamilton? No, Hamilton didn't. Yes? Hamilton yeah, that's all 6 right there. Pop off and you say you guys don't, I don't know what I'm talking about with that one. I have no idea how you got that, honestly. Pay attention. I didn't really fully watch the Spanish race, but that's because I was driving, and I don't drive and watch TV personally. So Lance Stroll withdraws from the Spain Grand Prix due to a wrist injury, having to have emergency surgery, and he will be out of apparently we're not sure, but there is talk that he won't be attending the Canada Grand Prix. Find that hard to believe. Seeing that that's his home race, number one. Number 2, there's been something circulating on social media about how he kind of threw a tantrum after qualifying, and re-aggravated his wrist injury. What did he do, punch a wall? You never know. But I don't wanna speculate or anything here because there's photo proof of another driver looking at his wrist or something in Monaco. So I don't wanna be like, oh, it's definitely from this. I feel like this could have worsened it and fueled the fire, but I don't want to say it's just from that. And the thing is, I kind of wanted to talk about this later, but we can talk about it now. Aston Martin's reserve drivers, so it's Felipe Drugovich, who is going to be replacing Lance Stroll. Supposedly, he's going to drop Le Mans for F1, which is dumb, in my opinion. Don't know why you would do that, considering you're not even close to getting a seat, but whatever. So he's pretty much their only reserve driver, and here's why. So Jack Crawford, who would be able to drive, doesn't have enough points on his super license. He needs to do a couple more FP1s, I believe, because he finished 5th last season in F2. He's only 7 points short or something, so he needs to do a couple FP1 stuff before he can get into an F1 car, race-wise. But it's a tough situation, and I heard that Stroll's surgery was actually scheduled for today, which doesn't make any sense. If it's emergency, wouldn't you want to do it ASAP? I don't know, the whole situation is interesting. I'm not saying his injuries or faults or anything, because that's crazy, but I'm just saying the situation's
It's
being
weird.
handled weird, in my opinion. And sorry, someone just like yelled. I'm gonna assume they're okay. Anyways, but whatever you guys think about the situation, if you guys have seen anything about it, just comment below. And then we have Max Verstappen is closer to be caught by Charles Leclerc in 5th place than he is to Oscar Piastri after the Spanish Grand Prix, 49 points versus 43 points.
But that just goes to show kind of the Red Bull isn't as dominant, and honestly, they did not look good. I thought that they were going to come out and the upgrades that they were putting on the car were going to be amazing. And he was on a different strategy. I do want to note that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
This Red Bull's worst points haul in a race where both drivers finished since Russia 2016, which was the race before Max's debut.
Yikers.
Yeah, Red Bull had a rough point game this last race. Also up to 11 penalty points, 12, and he gets a race ban, but 2 points expires June 30th.
Yeah. Well, unless something like this weekend happens again, I don't foresee him getting the 1 penalty point that he needs to.
Lovely. And then Osk is the first McLaren driver to win 5 races in the same season since Lewis in 2008, which is the same year he became a world champion.
Not saying, just saying.
It would be cool. And then points scored over the last 2 races, Hadjar with 14, Max with 13, and George with 12.
That's my rookie.
And then Nico Hulkenberg has scored 16 points in 2025 in total right now, so slay. More than the second Red Bull driver, which is 7 drivers, which is 7 points. Because we have to include Lawson in the seat for the first couple races. You know, I say it and I'll say it again. Daniel Ricciardo said that seat was
Yeah.
I don't think he was kidding. And then Fernando becomes the first F1 driver to score points in 21 seasons.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy though? Hello?
It's not registering in my head what I just read.
So he's raced 21 seasons in F1, right?
Yeah.
He's scored points in every single season.
Okay, go to the constructor standings. So McLaren is still in first with 362 points. Insane. Ferrari is in second with 165, beating out Mercedes. Mercedes has 159. Red Bull has 144. Williams has 54. Racing Bulls has 28. Passing Haas. Haas has 26. Sauber has 16. Aston Martin has 14. And Alpine has 7. And we know why.
But wait. But Sauber moves from the bottom into 8th because of the P5.
So, and then here are the driver standings. Oscar, again, has not moved in a hot minute. He's still in the lead with 186. Lando right behind him with 176. Max behind Lando with 137. Then we have George with 111. We have Charles with 94. Lewis with 71. Kimi with 48. Alex with 42. And Isaac Hadjar with 21 points. And then that leads Esteban with 20.
So Isaac moves up above Esteban for P9.
Congrats. Now to our race recap, or our race weekend recap.
I do have more detailed notes about these, so I will just insert them over this because I don't feel like talking about it. I'm just too lazy to run and go get them. They're upstairs and I'm downstairs, so yeah. But FP1, we have the top 3 being Lando, Max, and Lewis. FP2, top 3, Oscar, George, Max. FP3, Oscar, Lando, Charles. And then we go over to qualifying. The first 5 out were Yuki, Franco, Carlos, and Esteban, and Nico. Red Bull actually came out and said that they completely messed up Yuki's setup, and that's why he finished P20. yeah, I don't know why that they decided they were gonna change his setup, because he was doing good the other FPs, and then qualifying his setup was different. So, but then the next 5 out in Q2 were Ollie, Liam, Gabby, and Alex. Nothing really interesting to note here, other than I guess you could argue Lance's, and getting beat out by a Sauber. And then Q3, so Fernando P10, Isaac P9, Pierre in 8th, Charles in 7th, Kimi in 6th, Lewis in 5th, George in 4th, Max in 3rd, Lando in 2nd, and Oscar on pole. I can't really remember how qualifying went exactly for Q3. It's
Didn't
not
Oscar at the last second beat out Lando by like a point 200, something like that. So it was a very short distance between speed between Lando, because Lando went and then he was in the lead, and then Oscar came around the corner, beat him out because he had, I think, all purple sections. And but by the time the clock had already hit 0, so Lando had ran his last, and then so Oscar beat out Lando.
Yeah, but I don't
know
think
how to.
Lando's second lap was good at all. I thought that it was the one previous that he had set the
Yeah,
pole, but I don't know how Oscar did that, but it wasn't as thrilling as Monaco's. Let's just put it that way.
no, Monaco's that will still be like one of my favorite qualifying races to watch, in my opinion. It was so intense. I was on the edge of my seat, and I was just like, I remember telling you, you have to watch it. I can't tell you what happened. You have to watch it for yourself. It was that good. But anyways, moving on.
So we have our race results. Podium was Oscar, Lando, Charles. 4th through 10th, we have George, Nico, Lewis, Isaac, Pierre, Fernando, and Max in 10th. I just want to note here, Max with his 10-second penalty, which we'll get to in a hot second, which he really would have finished 5th, but he dropped the whole way down because of the 10-second penalty. And then 11th, Liam, 12th, Gabby, 13th, Yuki, 14th, Carlos, 15th, Franco, 16th, Esteban, and 17th, Ollie. Again, Lance didn't even participate, so that's one. And then Alex and Kimmy both DNF'd. So, fun times, am I right? Okay, now we have a lot here, so just bear with me as I go through this. So we have our race recap. So lap 1, we had Max immediately overtake Lando, and that was pretty set in stone. I mean, Max had a significantly better launch off of the line than Lando did. So there was that. And then Fernando versus Nico. That was so fun to watch. Because it was just like but then both the Ferraris actually ended up passing George after he got pinched down to turn 1, so sucks to suck. But then the action didn't really start until lap 8, where Alex boxed for a new front wing after getting damaged. For the first time in this race, he broke his front wing twice, but the second one wasn't his fault at Liam Lawson, but that's besides the point. Lap 9, Yuki boxed and put on softs, and Ollie went onto mediums. Then the next lap, Carlos and Nico both pitted. Carlos stayed on the same tire that he was on, and Nico put on mediums. Then lap 11, Pierre pitted. I think he stayed on the same tire. And then lap 13, Fernando had a scary moment. He had a front left lockup. Then lap 14, Max pitted and he put on more softs, so that was the first time he pitted. That's important to note. And then lap 15, Franco pitted for mediums. Lap 16, Fernando pitted. He stayed on the softs. Lap 17, Lewis pitted for mediums. And then lap 18, Charles pitted, but I think he also went on to mediums. And then lap 19, Liam pitted for mediums as well. And on that lap, Fernando actually passed Carlos, so the home fans were cheering for them both and watching them duke it out. Lap 20, Isaac pitted for mediums, and then right after, George and Esteban and Lando all come into the pits for mediums as well. And then lap 22, Kimi and Oscar both pitted for mediums. And then lap 24, Kimi made the move over Pierre in the Alpine, who still didn't pit, and Isaac made a move over Nico. And then lap 25, Yuki pitted again. He put on a second set of mediums, I believe. And then we had Liam versus Alex versus Fernando, which resulted in Alex losing 2 places, and Liam's was kind of, not great because he clipped Alex's front wing, and then Alex got like a penalty for something that he did earlier, and Williams was like, yeah, you gotta serve this. So when he came into the pit for the new front wing, to retire the car, they were like, you got to keep the car running. We're serving this 10-second penalty. Then you got to do another lap, and then you can retire the car. So tough for Alex Albon. And then Isaac also made a move over Pierre that same lap, which is lap 29. And then Nico also made a move over the Alpine as well. And lap 30, Max pits for the second time there, and he puts on mediums. And then lap 32 is Ollie versus Liam. It was such bad driving from Liam this weekend. I just don't know what was running through his head after he did such a good job in Monaco. But that's besides the point. And that went on for a couple laps until Liam finally got around. Then lap 36, Max overtook Charles. Lap 39, Yuki made a move on Esteban. Lap 41, Charles went into the pits for more mediums, and Franco also went into the pit. And then lap 42, George went on to soft tires. Lap 44, Fernando pits. Then 45, Esteban. And then 46, Yuki and Liam again. And then lap 47, Nico pits for mediums, but Lewis pits and he stays on the same tire. Lap 48, we actually find out that Mercedes undercut Lewis. And then Max pits for the third time this lap. This time onto a set of softs. And then lap 49, Lando pits for softs. That's his second stop, along with Oscar for softs as well. And then lap 55, we actually had a safety car, and this was because of Kimi and his technical, mechanical, engine, whatever you want to call it, failure, where he just had to go straight into the gravel because his car was smoking. Quite literally. So everyone used this as a free, pit stop. And this resulted in Max going on to the hard tires because he had no other new tires. He had already used up his allotted softs and mediums, so he had to go on to the hard. And everyone else was on soft around him, so that wasn't great. And then he had a very questionable restart. He was like sliding everywhere. He was just trying on the caution laps to just work those tires and get them into the window that they needed to be in, and he just couldn't do it. So he lost a place to Charles, and then everyone was on the radio because George was pretty much on the back of him, and Red Bull was like, oh, you should probably give the place to George, because I think there was like something iffy earlier in the lap. But turns out that the stewards weren't going to give a penalty for it, so Red Bull low-key screwed over Max, but we're not going to talk about it. But Max earned himself a penalty when, in his frustration, he decided when he was going to give George the place back that he was going to ram into the side of his car. So that gave him a 10-second penalty and 3 penalty points on his license.
And then it's the Max and George drama all over again.
Yeah, pretty much. And then on this same thing, Nico passed Lewis on the main straight. He goes into P6, but it transitions into P5 after Max's 10-second penalty. And then, to no one's surprise, Oscar won. Woo!
Such a good race.
Yeah. It was the last couple races The last couple laps were like, what is happening? It was
Sounds
like
pretty
IndyCar's
exciting.
race. Holy cow. Yeah, that's our episode for this week. So subscribe because we love doing these videos and we're trying to get to 500 subscribers for you guys, and we're going to do a giveaway to 5 people. If you haven't heard that spiel yet, go watch our other videos because we do this at the end of all of our other ones.
Yes.
Also leave a like and comment down below what you thought of the Spanish Grand Prix and what you are looking forward to the most about Canada's. And then post notifications per usual. We will be previewing the Club World Cup within the next couple weeks, and we are going to one of those games, so you can expect a vlog from us
Pretty soon.
about that. And yeah, enjoy your week, guys.